If you're a financial advisor and you can't seem to break past the $2,000, $3,000 a month kind of income range, then this video is probably one of the most important videos you can actually watch. I've spent more than 100 hours documenting, what I call the 5 advisory stages, right? Which outlines the exact problems and constraint that each stage of the advisor would face and what can we do to solve it. This is done over like 4,000 plus individual unique consultation calls and about 6,000 hours of coaching, all from me over the last few years, right? And so in this video, I'm going to share with you stage 1, and this is the most important one, because if you can't and don't solve this stage correctly, nothing else in your career compounds. Okay, and so what you're about to watch is a real session. I ran with a group of agency leaders, right? It's raw, it's unfiltered. And so if you're in the first 3 years as a financial advisor, or maybe your first 6 months to 12 months and you can't seem to scale past the 2-3K a month kind of income, then this video is for you. Enjoy. This segment over here, which I want to introduce you guys, is solving the right problem in the right way, the 5 advisory stages. Anyone heard of this before? Thoughts on it?
I think it's broken down to bring at the different income bracket or different phases. What are the key problems or the key constraints
to focus on?
So I thought is good because a lot of times after advisors try for 6 months, then they're everywhere, they're trying everything, right? So then that becomes good.
Okay, great. Just for context, I took more than slightly over 100 working hours documenting and recognizing all the patterns over 4,000 over sales calls and all the 5, 6K of coaching hours and all the questions, everything else, and based off our experience. And this took us quite a while to do this. And the good news is that we also tested this stage across advisors out of Singapore. So Brunei, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Philippines also. It actually works. The same sequence. Of course, the numbers are different, right, because of currency. But generally speaking, it's pretty much the same, even whether you're IFA, whether you do co-market or not, right? This is like pretty universal. So there are 5 stages, right? It's basically from people who just RNF all the way until TOT/agency leader, right? This is usually the path for it. Okay, so stage 1 is figuring things out. Now, how do you know someone an advisor in stage 1? We go by these 4 metrics, right? Income, main problem, mean outcome, and framework, right? This is basically stage. So income is 0 to 3K. Income also includes FYC, recurring. Main problem they have at this stage is acquisition. The main outcome that they need at this point in time is to build sales habit, and the framework for this is conversation and ask 100. Usually FYC is 0 to 2K. Bar means bonuses, allowances, and recurring. Okay, 0 to 1K, and then if you add this plus this equal income. Cool. Obviously, some people have a slightly outlier. Maybe they might have a bigger range, etc. But more often than not, it's like that. Clients maybe 30, 50, maybe even less than that. Okay, so depending on where they're at. Yeah, there's 3 groups of people who usually falls into this stage, Okay, to be clear, while this group of people are usually new, there are also people that are seasoned, they're also in stage 1.
Yep.
You guys might have seen some people, maybe other companies, 10 years in the business already, they're still doing like 1.5K FYC a month. So there are 3 groups of people usually here: new, seasoned, student advisor. Now, their main problem is client acquisition, and it comprises, if you think about client acquisition for them at this stage, it's just 2 essential activities, right? First one is to prospect, second is to sell, okay? And the problem that they have here, if you think about your new student advisors or new people, is that either they don't know the what and how to prospect and sell, or they know but they don't apply, right? Or number 3, they know the what and how, they know how to apply but they're just not willing to. This is typically the problems with advisors who just joined, okay? So typically if they're not getting success here, these are usually like the 3 problems. And attitude is obviously one of the most important things, okay? So the main outcome for people in this stage is to learn and build sales habits. Not to be MDRT advisor, not to be whatever. It's to learn and build sales habits. The reason why I say they just need to learn and build sales habits is because when you guys sell your new SCs to come in, what's the identity that you all sell them?
Financial advisor.
Financial advisor or insurance agent or salesperson, right? Be a good financial advisor, you can plan. Problem is the moment you sell them, that's the identity and positioning. What does a financial advisor do? Advice. Plan. Recommend. Does financial advisor prospect and sell?
No.
That's the misalignment. And so this is the reason why a lot of them come in, I want to be a cool financial advisor, I want to really do planning, but they don't really know how to sell, okay? So that's why the reality check for them, you need to sell them that's the sales industry. Of course, you guys can frame it appropriately, but this is the reality check that they need to go through. If they don't accept this, they will never succeed. They will never get the MDRT no matter how hard they try. So you have people doing a lot of financial tools, you have a lot of people doing a lot of catch-ups, but they never end up selling because they just want to help. You know what I mean? And then this is why people get stuck. And so I've backtested this to a 9-year advisor who's doing about 1 to 1.5K FYC for the last 9 years. Okay? Don't feel like he wants to sell, he just wants to do planning. Fellow took all the CHFC stuff, still earning 1K plus a month, right? Because he couldn't accept the identity that he's here to sell. Okay? And so that's a reality check. To clarify, it's not about attempting to be good at prospecting and selling at this point in time. You're not trying to get them to be like the best prospector at this point in time, but the goal is to have them normalize. Just be comfortable talking to people, being out there. We have to normalize this. This is the first key thing. And external, right? You need to normalize what? Prospecting, selling, and doing a bit of admin. Internally for them, you need to normalize rejections, ego, fear, pride, discipline, and uncertainty.
External meaning?
So external means like skill sets, right? What are the things that they need to do? So they need to normalize this. The internal is that they need to normalize that they will get rejected every day. They need to normalize that they need to overcome the ego that they have. So sometimes we have people who, even if they're students, especially local ones, right? You know that their minimum pay is already 3 to 4K once they grad, right? And then maybe the careers they have is a little bit more prestigious, so to speak. So this is also a bit of ego, right? Because it's like, I study this, and then their parents say, I put so much money for you to study, and then now you become an insurance agent, quote unquote, right? And so they have to overcome and normalize this ego part also, okay? Because if a seasoned advisor, if they're still at this stage, their problem is nothing to do with skill sets, right? Their problem is got to do with the very fact that they still have fear. Usually the seasoned advisors have fear if they're still at this stage. They just cannot bring themselves too long. Yeah. And why they can survive for the seasoned advisors, right, is either they have a partner that is rich, so they're comfortable, or number two, they're living in their parents' place. Again, my observation, right, over all the database I have. Okay, so, yeah, so this is what they do, they need to climb this mountain. Anyone know what is this mountain? What is this mountain? Everest, any other guesses?
K2.
Yeah?
K2.
I have no idea, I'm talking from Google. But anyway, yeah, okay, so solution at this point in time is conversation 100 and ask 100. So, there's the deforestation way, the project 100, which is we straight away talk to them and then we ask them. We didn't do the conversation. If you think about project 100, we go straight for the ask. It's like, hey, we haven't met for the last 3 years. I thought I'd reach out to you because I can help you do X, Y, Z, right? So this ask. Now, to help them reduce the skepticism or resistance, just add in the conversation 100. What this means here is that they just need to talk to people as friends. Like, just try to text people and show genuine interest and normalize the very fact that they need to be a little bit more social and care about people. Do that first, then later on can do ask 100. If I were to frame it the other way, ask 100 is deforestation, right? So we try to extract as much as we can from the people that we kind of know to buy from us. Conversation 100 is adding goodwill. I'll give you an example, right? It's like, one of the key observations I've made is that people who were generally speaking, if they first come in the industry, pretty fast results, is because prior to joining the industry, they actually had a lot of conversations with people. So their social network, they have built goodwill with the friends and brothers and sisters in the past already. That's why the moment they come in, bam, they ask, right? Project 100, 50 of them will buy. So I'm saying this because, like, even from a karma perspective, etc., right? Or Isaac Newton's force of motion, everything, it's the same thing. It's like, this is extraction, this is depositing goodwill. So I did a YouTube video recently where I talk about the very fact that every single person that you guys meet, whether is it a FC or even a prospect, there is 2 accounts with them. There's 2 accounts. The one account is called the money account, the other one is called the goodwill account. So what happens is that we need to deposit goodwill. So it's like build relationship, do content, right? So once you deposit goodwill, then the goodwill can be converted to money. That's the way we look at relationship from a more transactional manner. Because technically goodwill is a currency, it's actually money. It's just that it's in USD or in ringgit, you cannot use it. You need to convert to SGD, that makes sense, right? And so what happens is that we want the FCs to come in to try to deposit goodwill first, just be okay to talk to people. Then later when we do the Ask 100/Project 100, it's a lot easier for them to extract later on because they did talk to them or build a relationship. There are other people, you guys have seen social media, some agency will post that this FC, RNF 2 months MDRT kind. Yeah. Prior to that, the backstory was that 2 years in army, he was already building goodwill. And then the moment he RNF, right, bam, you straight away like get an FYC. Make sense? So that's how the game is played. Okay, and that's why this is a solution at this point in time for them. Okay? The question that usually people will have is like, oh, don't I need a process for this? By right, you should, but more often than not, again, the goal is to normalize, right? And so this is my analogy, right? It's like, even people who sell tissue paper will make money every day, even with mediocre sales skills, right? If they just go with the volume, right? Formula. Volume times skills equal to output, okay? So if they want whatever results, I mean, if I'm teaching a new RNF kid, I will just put this up front, which is like volume times skill output, okay? So if they want X amount, at the beginning they don't have too much skill. The only thing they can leverage on is what? Volume. So volume doesn't mean like you do, instead of doing project 100, you do project 10,000. No, like volume could also mean you keep having that conversation and building better conversations with that same or few people that you've been talking to, right? Because if you talk about goodwill is not only created once, right? You do it multiple times. And so if you think about like If some of you guys already have partners or like girlfriends, wives, etc., it starts from a stranger, right? And then become friends, friends become whatever, girlfriend, boyfriend, fiance, wife. So the goodwill has to be deposited over time, you know? So the faster we do this, the better, right? So this is called the financial advisory hierarchy of identity. The things that's important, right? So first of all, moment you become a FC, the identity you need to accept first is you got to be a salesperson. That's the most important, okay? Because you need to prospect and sell. Now, I don't like the very fact that we need to be salesperson, but the truth is that's how AIA pay us money anyway. They don't care about how good your planning is. Anyone got Best Financial Planning Award. I'm sure they come out with some fluff, right? Best Ethics, whatever. But let's talk about Best Financial Planning Award. Is there a ranking for that? Probably not. This is the reason why a lot of people like the restaurants, like the chefs, great at cooking, their business still fail because they're not great salespeople. They think it's all about the cooking. They think that good food will attract the right people. Not necessarily true. That's why it's so hard at the beginning because you don't want to give bullshit advice, but you also cannot be that great because you also need to make a living, right? So at the beginning it's hard, but that's the way it is, right? So salesperson, prospect and sell. That's all you need to care about. After that, then you become an advisor. An advisor is to plan, recommend, advise. Okay? Now, a financial advisor who is doing well, plan, recommend, advise, already have the skill sets to know how to prospect and sell. This is my belief, and if you really think about it, you can't actually plan for someone unless they pay you. So all the financial planning that we do are merely proposals or good enough proposals for them to buy. Yes. You think about cash flow and everything else, right? Yeah, you guys just do enough cash flow, do enough for them to see the gap so that they can buy something and then you can execute, correct? But a lot of people, they think it's like full-fledged planning. They'll take like 3 months and like 6 hours per case spread, etc., right? And the problem is that there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that if they only do planning without thinking of how to sell in the proposal, then they can plan but they don't make money. Yeah. So the whole point here is that at the beginning, that's why they need to learn how to prospect and sell. Once you know how to do it, for most of you here or all of you here actually, when you go for a course or a technical skill set, you all know how to sell. You all know how to take this idea, it's an angle, right, to go in. People at the beginning don't know. They just like, oh, wheels yeah, I can provide good service as a financial advisor, but they don't earn money, right? So that's that. Then last one, then is coach. So financial coach is coach, guide, and train. Okay, so this is typically if you are already a leader for your own FCs, or for example, like Wilfred, right? Like he teaches his client, guide them, coach them on whether to spend, not to spend. These are the different layers, right, and of identity that everybody needs to go through. But for people at this stage, this one, okay? So that's that. Mistakes that I see people make here, just quick one. I think people have a lot of fear of judgment when they first come into the industry. So this is a big one. So people want you to lose because it helps them to justify the risk they choose not to take. So I thought it was like really apt for this, right? So it's like you are a student, you're studying, and then you want to join the industry, but then people might persuade you to not do it. Their parents, for example, right? Or sometimes it might work like that. Wow, you're going to be financial advisor? Yeah, go Basil, go and try. You know, I think you can do it. Then Basil go and try. Then Basil MDRT earn money. Then they all start to dislike Basil. They say Basil is sleazy and salesy, right? You know, yeah. So that's typically like the fear of judgment that people have over here. Indecisiveness is the big one that causes people to fail at this stage. They either have a try mentality or see how this goes mentality. Yeah. Because the moment they have this, well, you guys already know, right? If you only try with effort, you will have try result. Okay, cool. So, all good.